From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report here on Radio Andy. We count down the top 10 things that make us go wow.
Wow.
Brendan Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by Tom Campbell.
Hello, Fenton.
Our Chief Creative Officer, James St. James.
I'm here. I made it.
I was going to say, give your sobriquet that you're the editor of the Wow Report, James.
Yes, I am.
Yes. And very excited to welcome Jason Carter of the Pit Crew.
Hi, guys. Hey, fam. Hi, Fenton, James, Tom, everyone's glad to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me. Such an honor.
Jason.
Yeah, good to see you again.
You too. You too. I'm glad everyone's safe and healthy.
Yes.
You have been on RuPaul's Drag Race. I think you're the longest serving, apart from RuPaul herself, you are the longest serving member, I believe.
Well, no,
me
and Michelle are tied. Me and Michelle are tied because we both came on in season 3. I'm the longest serving guy in his underwear on the show, that's for sure. But yeah, since season 3, so like if you count all of from season 3 to season 12 and then 5, that's like 15 seasons of a global phenomenon. It's been awesome. It's been great.
Well, let's start the countdown. I'm not going to give anything away. What's the number 10, Tom?
Number 10.
We're starting with the best, with Jason Carter, our guest, who, as you have said up already, is a member of RuPaul's Drag Race Pit Crew, but he is so many other things. He's a little media mogul in his own right. I have not. We shoot Drag Race about a year ahead of time, so I haven't seen Jason, maybe in passing, but we haven't really hung out since All Stars and season 12. How have you been?
Hey. You know, guys, I've been okay. You know, considering that 2020, I wish we could start over. It never happened. This year has been the most trying, intense year ever. But there's so many silver linings that are emerging that we're seeing, of course, with what's going on with social justice, violence against people of color, and things of that nature. So I'm glad that we're making headway drastically in those areas. But as far as I'm concerned, I've been held up in my house here in the Valley, and I've been shooting my daily show, Jason Unleashed, every day, Monday through Friday on my Instagram, and it's been great. We've had queens from the show, LGBTQ plus notables and celebrities, as well as cisgendered and people that are allies to the community on the show, and it's been a blast. So I've been good. I've been really good, actually, considering.
So you've been working for Entertainment Tonight for a long time, and now you've branched out with your own show. Where if people want to hear you and see you and hear the show, where would they find you?
They can find me on my Instagram, Tom, at Jason Carter Official, and then also it's on my IGTV, which of course they're in the same platform. Then if you've missed it on there, just head on over to my YouTube channel, just search Jason Carter, and I have a whole playlist of all the Jason Unleashed shows there. So if you missed it, you can watch it whenever you need to.
Okay, a couple most asked questions. I'm sorry, but the fans want to know how did you audition for or find out about posing in your underwear on national television for RuPaul's Drag Race as a pit member?
Oh my gosh. So I don't know if you guys know internally the story, but a wonderful guy by the name of Theron Campbell Smothers. I was kind of discovered, really. I was teaching a dance class in North Hollywood, spring of 2010, and a friend of the producer was like, hey, do you model at all? Well, I have a friend who's looking for models for this show. Can you send me a picture? Weirdly enough, the beginning of that year, I did this, new photo shoot. I was a dancer at the time, so I had, great shape. Was like, I'm gonna go on tour with Mariah Carey. Damn it!
Yeah.
And I had sent the producer the picture, and for weeks, he emailed me, and I blew him off. Well, fast forward a month later, I was hosting an event with Shangela, who had just been on season 2 and was coming back for season 3.
Yeah.
And people were there from, of course, World of Wonder. They saw me there. The next weekend, I was at a pool party for producers on the show, and they were like, oh, you're that one guy. So finally, and at the end, I think it was the middle of May of 2010, again, production reaches out, hey, come in and audition. Today's the last day. What are you available? I said, fine. They said, you need to bring 2 pairs of underwear, and you're going to be dancing. Cool. So I show up, of course, at the historic World of Wonder building in Hollywood, and I'm down in the basement, and I auditioned. Didn't hear anything. and went home and thought, you know what, this is typical Hollywood. They're probably gonna get some beefcake. Some, I was like, I'm out. I'm gonna go to In-N-Out Burger that was on the corner back then, or McDonald's back then. And so a week later, I was at a brunch and a psychic was there, and she had asked me, did you just audition, or are you in school? Are you trying out for something? And I have really bad allergies, so I was scratching my nose, and she's like, you're gonna get it. A guy with an F in his name, or something is gonna call you. It's gonna be something like that. You're gonna get it. It's gonna open a lot of doors for you. About 2 weeks later, I get a call from a guy named Frank that used to work at World of Wonder, and he was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. You auditioned for us. We want to bring you on to be a part of this show called RuPaul's Drag Race as part of the pit crew. Here's your day rate. Congratulations, your life's been made. So that's how it happened.
Story.
Well, thank you very much for accepting the role. I mean, you could have said, fuck you.
But men have come and gone, but Jason has been a consistent person. He's there when you need him. You can tell by hearing him and seeing him today. He's so full of positive energy. He's a delight to have around any production.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And what's been great too is that, manifestation. We all grew up loving RuPaul. I remember in summer of '93, Supermodel of the World, and listening to that song secretly because I was obsessed with supermodels. I was obsessed with RuPaul. But back at that time, and being a young gay boy, I couldn't be vocal about that. The RuPaul show, Foxy Lady, all the great moments of the '90s, the VH1 Awards, the Bob Mackie. I mean, just everything. And then to be on the show as an adult with RuPaul, I still get chills thinking about it. So it's such a blessing. So thank you guys for having me.
I have one final question before we move on. Do you wear something? Do you have to wear a cup over your penis in the underwear, or are you commando under your underwear, or has it changed over the years? I have some idea, but I don't know the truth.
Wait, on the show or in my real life or when I'm walking down the street?
On the show, but we'll talk later. We'll take offline about real life.
Well, after the season 4 finale where you guys had me bringing out Willem and there was just peen everywhere in those Andrew Christians, the cups definitely came in to play, which I understand. But listen, people ask does the pit crew stuff? I don't have to stuff, but I choose to be modest for the viewers. And I'll leave it at that.
I love that. We can't have our viewers overexcited. It's exciting enough as it is. So absolutely. Okay, let's move on. Stay with us, Jason. Chime in. We're just counting things down. Number 9, James.
Number 9.
Well, it's been a really hard week, and I feel like I'm exhausted, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm scared. I've got so many things going on, and I have been doing nothing but watching the news nonstop, and it's I have to every once in a while take a moment and look around and see what else is happening in the world to take my head out of it for a second. And I just wanted to pause and mention the passing of an artist, a man named Christo, a very famous, he was a large-scale environmental artist, and he has been around for decades and decades. He was somebody that when I was a teenager, I was obsessed with. He did things like he would wrap fabric around monuments. I remember in 1983, I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and he wrapped islands around Biscayne Bay in giant pink plastic, so it looked like a giant pink oil spill. I was in Berlin in 1997 when he wrapped the Reichstag building, if you recall.
James, you were there? You actually saw these things?
Yes, I saw the Reichstag. It was so haunting, and so he wrapped it in white sheets, this entire building in white sheets, and it was haunting. It took your breath away. It was ghostly. It was like a ghost building in the center of the town. It was a reminder that it like muted the power of Nazi symbolism is what it did. I also remember he did in 1991, he set up 3,000 umbrellas in Japan and California along the highway. And that ended badly when the wind came and killed 2 people with the umbrellas. He also did the gates in New York.
The flu. Killed less people than the flu that year.
but he's somebody who had a real impact on the art world, and he was really interested. He and his wife Jean-Claude were a team together. Fenton, I don't know if you have thoughts about him. If you,
I do. I can't believe that you actually saw two of the installations, especially the one as a young boy, James, because I know you're very young. Seeing those islands in Biscayne Bay, they were beautiful, sort of, it's tropical waters down there. So you got that sort of azure blue water, and then these bright, shocking pink skirts around the islands. It must have set you on the path, James, I think.
Well, it did. It was something that, like, I remember I did an article. I mean, I did a report at school about it, and I remember going with my family down to see them. It was a spectacular thing to just to see art out in the open, art in the environment, and on such a large scale. I don't think I'd ever seen art that big before, and it would just blew my mind that, like, that was something that could happen.
Maybe 20 years ago, I can't remember, there was an installation in Central Park of these sort of marigold orange, and I walked through that, and I was aware of him from photos, but that's the one I actually experienced, and there was an audacity to what he did. Yeah. And there was, you want art to move you. That's kind of my, I'm not an expert about art or taking some classes, but there was something so bold and so put you in a different perspective with yourself or with your surroundings. And it was so also incredibly for everyone, it was egalitarian. It was like, just come see and be part of it. It wasn't snooty. It wasn't little prints. It wasn't a book when you left. It was just for the people, of the people. It's beautiful.
And interestingly, he would often spend up to a decade to do one piece. It took him 10 years to get the permits and to get the fabric, to get the materials and everything, and to get everything in place. And so it's large scale. It was very thought out. It's fascinating, and it's the passing of a legend.
Indeed. In fact, in 1962, James, he had the idea to wrap the Arc de Triomphe in Paris.
Yes.
And the good news is it's finally going to happen in September of 2021.
See, 60 years later, and by God, it gets done.
So that's that. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to 10. I always have trouble counting. 10, 9, 8.
8.
Number 8.
Okay, Larry Kramer.
Wow.
Larry Kramer passed away last week, May the 27th. He was also, James, he was also 84. They were the same age.
Really? Okay.
Larry Kramer. Jason, did you ever meet Larry Kramer? Were you aware of him?
I'm aware of some of his works. I've never met him. No, I wish I would. There's a lot of luminaries and icons I wish I would have met while they were still walking Earth, but he is one of them I have not met.
I sort of feel the same way. I feel like when you see all the tributes that are pouring in from everybody, I feel like I might be one of the only gay men in America who didn't meet Larry Kramer.
I never met him. Tom, did you meet him?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I did, though, do a Skype call with him on New Year's Day. On this New Year's Day, was introduced to him because I've been reading his last 2 books, The American People, which is a whole history of America through a gay lens. And it's like, both volumes, I think, are like 1,500 pages. Haven't quite finished, but...
we talked about them on the show.
He was, yes. And he was a legend and such an important person. The reason he was a very controversial figure, but I thought what was so interesting about his passing, it's amazing he survived as long as he did, in the sense that he had HIV for many, many years. He contracted it at a time when there was no cure. And the sheer will to live, the sheer fight force, I don't know what it is about Larry Kramer, but he was this angry, powerful, it's so bizarre that he would die this week of all weeks, at this time of all times, when here we are facing another plague, another pandemic, and
another protest.
Exactly. And
well, you got to mention too, not only was he a prolific author and everything, he was also one of the founders of ACT UP.
Gay Men's Health Crisis.
Gay Men's Health Crisis, yes.
I will say this without any political correctness. His personality type, he was a prick. right? He would not take no for an answer. He was like a dog with a bone, and he was brilliant as well, and had a great heart for people and for the cause, but had to overcome all of that self-loathing and all of the routinized hate for gay people, and he took it on. I don't want to say by himself, but it felt like by himself. And it reminds me at these times where people, obviously protesters aren't looters, et cetera, but like you have to be someone I'm not, like, to change the world the way that he did, to the point where he was almost shunned by the movement that came after him because of him, because he was so.
Well, that's it. And I think the New York Times obituary was very telling, because in the first version, in the paragraph, they wrote, he worked hard to shock the country into dealing with AIDS as a public health emergency, but his often abusive approach could overshadow his achievements. And there was enormous outcry and pushback from social media about that characterization. And so after much, deliberation, the New York Times changed it to aggressive, his aggressive approach. And then there was more outcry, and then they changed it to confrontational. And then in the end, they just gave up and took the whole paragraph out, which was the right thing to do, because you can't always be nice in bringing about change. And
You can't be when you're breaking that first rock. I'm so happy. Thank God I live in a country where people like Larry Kramer do the things. Thank God I'm sitting here in my apartment in West Hollywood with helicopters and horns. It's like I'm in a war zone. I walked this morning and there's military on the streets, and I'm safe at home, and there's people who are marching and spending all day and putting themselves and their lives and everything else at risk. Thank God for people like that. Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah, he was such a pioneer, and funnily enough, enemies, but also great friends with Dr. Anthony Fauci, who of course is significantly in the news right now. And I think they came to be really very close. So that's rest in power, Larry Kramer.
And I'll just say, because one of the things, silence equal death was ACT UP, right?
That's right.
And the triangle. And there's also this thing I passed to you, Fenton, about social media, but like there are lots of ways to not be silent. You can protest, you can have conversations with your family, you can give money. There's lots of ways to be part of the movement. It doesn't necessarily mean, like, I see people kneeling and getting up, and like I wouldn't get back up if I were out there right now. But you know what I'm saying? I think there's lots of ways for us to not be silent, and because silence equals death anyway. Thank you, Larry Kramer.
Exactly. Yep. All right, let's take a break. Blake, have you got a question?
I do. So we're talking about Larry Kramer, and it's Pride Month. So when organizers were looking for a slogan for the first Pride March, L. Craig Schoonmaker, who was on the planning committee, suggested Pride. What phrase was second runner-up?
To Pride, which one? Okay.
Right.
All right. We'll listen to that. We will. Listening to the WOW Report on Radio and SiriusXM. We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders WOW Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the WOW Report. I'm Fenton Bailey here with Jason James, Tom Campbell, and Jason Carter from RuPaul. Hi.
Yo.
Hello. So, Blake, we had a question for the break.
Yes. When organizers were looking for a slogan for the first Pride March, they settled on pride, like being proud. What was their second? What phrase was second runner-up?
First runner-up.
Was it a phrase or a single word? Can we get a clue? Was it a phrase or a single word?
It's 2 words.
Be loud.
That's a good one. Not right.
Be proud.
Yeah. Give them hell.
What was it? I don't know. That's great. I don't know.
Think different.
The idea gay power was thrown around.
I like it.
They argued that while gay individuals lacked power, one thing they did have was pride. So the official chant of the march became, say it loud, gay is proud.
I think they made a very good choice.
Yeah.
Well, here we are, counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. And we've reached number 7.
Number 7.
It's just a good thing that keeps on coming. I need to talk to you, of course, that tonight, Friday, on VH1, yes, we just had the grand finale of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12. which was amazing last week.
Amazing. So, I mean, well, sorry, Tom, to interrupt you, but I like whoever the geniuses behind RuPaul's Drag Race, who I'm talking to, World of Wonder, how you guys did that. And for someone who works in production and works behind the scenes, that was by far some of the most compelling television to watch, technically, as well as the content, because I have never seen anything pulled off like that in my 40 years on this planet. Kudos for you guys. And the articles that were written about it afterwards, about in a time of unrest and scandal. Let's keep this real. Scandal that is associated with the show of season 12, as we know why. Yes. It still was a shining beacon and done right. So kudos to you guys for getting it right, because it was phenomenal.
Jason, thank you. That's the sweetest thing. Thank you so much. I got to tell you, I work on it. We all work on it, but it was an amazing feat, technically, especially. Everybody was at home. Ru was at home. The queens were at home. You know, we did, and we still had a competition. We still had 5 lip syncs. We still kept it fair, and the winner was, of course, the one, the only. Say it.
Look over there.
Oh!
Jada Essence Hall.
Wait, RuPaul was home? I thought she was in my eyeball.
She was in her panic room in the Hollywood Hills, if you listen closely. There was a video that went viral. I don't know if you saw it, where Jada, because here's Jada. Normally this is in front of a huge theater. It's you're on tour, you're going around the world, you're going to jet plane the next day, you're going on television. She was in the corner of her neighborhood in Minneapolis, and fans from Minneapolis were driving by at a safe distance, honking their horns, as far as the eye could see. And Jada was just boy Jada, and it just made me cry. I will not.
I love that. It was a glorious homecoming parade. It was just
and the queen on the street who just lost her damn mind when she saw Jada. That was so adorable, so sweet.
So that was last week. What we also shot last summer, and Jason was there for it, was the 5th installment of All Stars, and it starts tonight, Friday on VH1. And I have to tell you, I'm going to list off the queens, because they're all so incredible. But it's Shea Coulee, it is Blair St. Clair, Derek Barry, India Farah, Mariah Balenciaga, Miss Cracker, Angina, Alexa Bam Mateo, Mayhem Miller, and Jujubee.
What a cast!
It's a crazy cast.
The thing about All Stars is, okay, look, if the flagship Drag Race show is weighing the palette for All Stars for me, because All Stars is like the young and the restless of drag, right? The stakes are off. You have these people who've gone out in the world and been successful in drag, and now they're coming back to reclaim the title. And these are now seasoned queens who are now like, okay, they say there's a code to crack for Drag Race, which whatever, but you have these people who've had their own drag experiences, have their own followings, have had their own life in drag, coming back and bringing their powers. They're like mutants. They're like X-Men. They have these powers now, and they get to exact those powers in this competition. And by eliminating rules and eliminating the traditional way of Drag Race, every season of All Stars raises the ante, and it's such great television. It's such great television.
I know. I finally summed it up. Tell me if this makes sense. If Drag Race, the regular season, is a talent show like no other, All Stars is a masterclass in show business, how to survive in show business.
Boom,
honey. Well, that's RuPaul's. Yeah, sorry, Tom. Yeah.
And there's a major twist this year in terms of how the queens get eliminated. Watch if you have time. It's an amazing season. It will not disappoint.
Right?
I love it. Love it.
Tonight, 8 p.m. VH1. Let's move on to number 6, James.
Number 6.
You guys, another thing that just didn't make me go wow. It made me go wow. I watched the Jeffrey Epstein series on Netflix. And it is.
How many parts is it?
It's 5.
Ouch.
And it's very dark. It's very triggering. It's very upsetting. It reminded me a little bit of watching Finding Neverland, the Michael Jackson documentary, in which you have the first couple episodes, you're just hearing the stories of the survivors of his abuse. And there's a weird thread where they all tell like the exact same story of how they were groomed and how the abuse started happening. It's then it goes on to talk about how he rose to power and how he became so wealthy and how it's very strange because it seems like it happened very quickly. Like just suddenly one day he was a billionaire and one day he was surrounded by President Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, Woody Allen, all these people at his island, pedophile island is what they call it. And you hear the stories about the women who were abused by Prince Andrew. You hear a lot of those stories. And it just the fact that someone like that could exist for so long and be without consequence. He thrived for decades in doing what he did. And the woman who was his pimp, Ghislaine Maxwell, I think her name was Ghislaine or something.
Yeah.
That she's still out there and she hasn't been caught and she hasn't been prosecuted. It's disheartening and it's upsetting. It goes into his death and the controversy around that. What might have happened. We don't really know what happened, but something happened. Something very weird happened. Yeah. And it's once again, it's one of those shows that maybe now is not the time to watch. Maybe it's 6 months from now or a year from now, but it's something that should be seen because it's a case study in evil and how not to let something like that ever happen again.
You're a brave watcher, James. I can barely watch. I watch CNN at night as much as I can and Turner Classic Movies and a little bit of QVC to put me to sleep. I can't handle heavy stuff right now. So I
interesting by way of contrast is how evil white people have been allowed to flourish and how much it takes to stop them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How many years it can just go on and on and on.
And it's one of those things where
protests and suddenly the National Guard is here. It's like an extraordinary disparity of action. And
but you talk about the people that we know are committing these acts, and we knew about Jeffrey Epstein for 10 years. We knew that we heard the stories. There's a director in Hollywood that we hear stories about. There's
Harvey Weinstein for years.
We knew for a decade what was going on, and the fact that even though everybody knows nothing ever gets done, and then it does get done, and it ends monster.
All hell breaks loose. Well, but you guys are all talking about privilege. That's what the subtext is privilege. These people have been privileged, and they also have had people that have been complicit, as we know, in their bad behavior. James, just want to touch on what you said about it being triggering and hard to watch. Those are the things we're supposed to watch, right?
Yeah.
Leaving Neverland, Surviving R. Kelly, all these things that are on subscription television, because subscription television is able to push the envelope and tell those hard stories and do it in a way that's nuanced and doesn't have to worry about the certain audiences because it's subscription. Those are the things. It needs to be uncomfortable, right? And so I love watching, like Aaron Hernandez, great documentary, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, I can watch that." But Jeffrey Epstein, back to your point, Finn, is that it's privilege, and that because people and privilege and fear, because people are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of their livelihood being eviscerated. They're afraid of being blacklisted in a town that loves to cancel people, even though we're like, cancel culture, no, we're not here for it, inclusivity, all this and that. It's all lip service because people love to cancel people. The minute they get the chance, I mean, we see it on social media all the time. So with Jeffrey, and if you have money, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. So, I mean, I'm going to watch it, James, because there's a lot of things to watch. And like you, Tom, I watch the news at night and keep it pushing. But if you're saying it's triggering, let me be triggered, because then I could possibly learn something from watching it.
Well, no. And when I say it's triggering, I think it's important. I think shows like this are important to see so that we can document what's the evil that is out there, and we shine a light on it, and we shine a light on the systemic problems that keep happening over and over again, and how to stop it from happening. But there are people who, if you are a victim of abuse, if you are a sexual abuse survivor, then maybe a show like this, you need to watch it with somebody who is going to be there for you, or maybe it's something it's not for you. That's when I say it's triggering. It's triggering for abuse survivors.
Absolutely, understandable.
Yeah.
All right, that's Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich on Netflix. Filthy Rich, yeah, number 5.
Number 5.
NASA's first private space launch, launching men into space for the first time in 9 years. I mean, so much has been going on this past week, and I did watch it on Saturday, the takeoff, and it looked a bit like people driving a Tesla, like upside down, just sort of like they didn't have to do anything. It was completely automated. It was a 19-hour flight to the space station, and inspired by that, I watched Space Force on Netflix. Have you seen Space Force?
No.
That's the Carell thing, right?
It's a sitcom. Sort of, it's like The Office, but with a bit of NASA and space. And the reviews have been fairly vicious, actually. Sort of saying, obviously Trump is in the administration is in the target of the whole thing, but it feels a little soft or something, and people have been pretty negative about it. Am I the only one who's watched any of it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard very mixed reviews.
Same.
It's a very interesting. Lisa Kudrow is Steve Carell's wife, and they begin at the beginning. He gets promoted, and then he gets assigned to be in charge of Space Force, and you think, oh, this is great. And his wife, Lisa Kudrow, is told that they're going to have to move to Colorado, and she sort of sobs. And then we go forward 9 months, and the next thing, they're in Colorado, and completely unexplained, his wife is in jail for committing she's in jail for 40 to 60 years. So Lisa Kudrow spends the entire series in jail, and we have no idea why she's there. One moment she was in Washington as the wife of a successful army general, the next she's in prison. So that's a kind of unusual thing.
Well, I want to go back for a minute to talk about the space launch, though, with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is such a weird figure in pop culture. Can't quite put a beat on him. Is he a mad genius? Is he a freak? Is he completely insane?
Is he a drug addict?
Is he a drug addict? What is going on with the baby that was named Ash XP9743? And then when he says that he's going to give up all of his possessions and live off the grid, like, what is going on with this man? Do we love him?
Pull out of California. Pull everything out of California because of the COVID laws. He was gonna.
Yeah, and then he wanted his workers to go back a little bit before they should probably.
Wildly impulsive.
Do you like him, Fenton? Where do you stand on Elon?
I don't know, Jason. What were you gonna say?
I think he's brutally sexy, but something about him, I agree with you, Tom. He's a little off, James. I think he's a little off. So the truck that was out last year that, they debuted it, they threw the rock, the window broke. I think he likes to troll humanity sometimes. Sometimes he feels like I'm so rich, I'm so brilliant, and most eccentric people have eccentric behaviors. I think he just gets off on us asking this question: who are you? What are you about? He likes to keep us guessing, but I do think he has a brilliant mind. I think that if he's reined in some capacity and maybe had some of that energy, like, I don't know, siphoned into more palatable things, I think he could be so effective in so many different ways and so many different things.
Do we need brilliant madmen to push society forward? Do we need iconoclasts and catalysts and people who are out there causing anger and frustration?
He by no means is Larry Kramer, but it's a similar situation where the people that lead are the people that, for whatever reason, whether it's the fine line between genius and insanity, right? That just pushes you to look.
And you hate them and you love them, and they're the ones who get shit done.
Yeah, and maybe they have to be reined in. I don't know. Life, it's interesting, isn't it? Life, an enigma wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in some frozen yogurt.
That crazy thing where he called the guy who was helping rescue the kids from the underground cave in Thailand, he called him a pedophile. Yeah. And then there was a whole lawsuit, and he basically got off because apparently calling someone a pedophile isn't legally problematic. I mean, the whole thing is just, it is all Facebook. I guess it'll be a Netflix series, and we'll. All right, let's take a break. Blake, have you got a question for us?
Yes, I do. On this week in history, in 1927, you guys might have heard this, but this person's father went to a Ku Klux Klan rally.
Well, we know the answer to that one. We'll be right back after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom Campbell, James St. James, and our very special guest, Jason Carter.
Yay! Oh my God.
Blake, we had a question before the break.
Yes. This week in history in 1927, this person's father went to a KKK rally. Who was it?
All together, everyone. Donald J. Trump.
President Chaos.
That's right.
And this week, he had people tear gassed and dispersed with water cannons, kicked out of the park of the church, and oh, for fuck's sake, yeah. Tom.
Let's move on to number 4.
Thank you. Tom.
Number 4.
This is, I just know from Donald Trump this week that you just hold a book and whatever's in it just seems to emulate through you. So I've chosen to hold a book I've never read called the Amy Vanderbilt Complete Book of Etiquette, which I clearly have never read. That was a good point, Greg. It's nothing.
Yeah, right. Because
I just want to say we struggled for a while this week. Are we going to do the show this week? Because it was such a dark week, and we're also kind of, Tuesday was blackout. It's just, there's so much going on. And I'm glad we did, by the way, because I think we're having good topics and we're honoring good people. But oh my God, this show is not about politics and not about tracking him. But that moment when he walked with that awful speech, followed by that, which you could get away with, followed by that moment where he and a bunch of white people walk through a crowd that had just been shot with rubber bullets and tear gas to stand for that ridiculous photo op. He didn't know what to do with it. My favorite quote of all time is a reporter says, "Is that your Bible?" And he goes, "It's a Bible." He's so awful.
I don't understand. Like anyone that has any shred of decency can be so present in what's happening with and across all 50 states that have had protests. Right. As a person of color, that was infuriating to me because you have these people there that are dealing with violence to have someone or some entity that's supposed to be in their corner to also protect them enact violence on them as well. The bishop of the church went on multiple outlets saying her outrage in regards to the president and what he did, but yet he just doesn't get it. And I know Tom, Fenton, and James, you guys are very vocal about your stance on politics. And again, it's not a political show, but what is wrong with him? What is happening, and why hasn't someone, and why hasn't his daughter or his daughter who Ivanka? I would like to think Ivanka has a sound head on her shoulders.
No. We thought so for a hot second, but we have been proved time and again that she and Jared are part of the problem. They're the worst.
And I think Trump is what always reduces me to a gibbering mass of inarticulacy is that Trump is an evil force that corrupts everything he touches. He corrupted reality television. He corrupts Twitter. He corrupts the presidency. He corrupts elections. He corrupts all the people around him. Everything he touches, he corrupts. And what enrages me is how people just don't see it, and how anyone could follow him, how anyone could vote for him. It is as things spiral and get worse and worse and worse. That speech was a virtual declaration of martial law. And just wait till the election is canceled or postponed. Just wait till he denies the results of the election. Just, it's beyond me. And I do think it is Black, Indigenous people of color who are going to be the ones who turn this thing around, in the same way that, years and years ago it was Stonewall. It was Black, Indigenous people of color who picked up a motherfucking rock and had a riot and put an end to decades of.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I'll end with this, which is that it was just announced that LA Pride in LA, it's the 50th anniversary of Pride. The first Pride was in New York 51 years ago. It came to LA the next year. And out of respect for Marsha P. Washington and Sylvia Rivera, we're having not a Pride, but a march, a protest like we did the year after Trump was elected. And it's going to be Sunday, June 14th at 10 a.m. It's going to start at the Hollywood Boulevard in Highland, right near World of Wonder. And it's going to travel. That's where the original Pride happened. And it's going to wind its way down to San Vicente and Santa Monica. And I can't wait. I cannot wait for that to happen. So it's going to be a march for Black lives. And, none of us, and none of the, we can all do better individually, as communities, as gay people, and how great this is happening. I'm not saying one march will change the world, but like every action makes, in the positive, I think makes a difference.
100%.
Jason James, number 3.
Number 3.
I see that Justice for George Floyd is the largest petition ever on change.org, with over, you said 14 million people so far have already signed on.
Closing in on 15. Yeah, I think
closing in on 15. On the WOW Report, we have made a comprehensive list of Black LGBTQIA places to go, links to do. There's we have donation sites that include Black Lives Matter, the official George Floyd Memorial Fund, support for George's daughter Gianna, the Breonna Taylor Fund, the Ahmaud Arbery Fund, the David McAtee Fund, the Tony McDade Fund, the Ileana Dior Fund.
Trans Lives Matter, yes.
Yes, Trans Lives Matter. The National Bailout Fund, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, the Los Angeles Bail Fund, all the different cities that you can contribute to people's bails. We have a site to bail out homeless Black trans women. We have signed petitions, Justice for George Floyd, the Minneapolis petition to defund the police department, as well as links to as well as tips on how to protest responsibly, how to wear, what to bring to protest, what not to bring, and how to defend yourself against tear gas. All these things are on the WOW Report, and it's a comprehensive listing of things that everybody needs to know, and ways that you can help. And I just wanted to put that out there, that that we all can do something somehow, that everyone can contribute.
Yep.
Worldofwonder.net, the WOW Report.
All right, number 2. The night of June 1st, the White House turned off the lights because Trump was hiding in the bunker. And someone found a picture of the White House when Obama was there and marriage equality was passed, and the White House was lit up with the rainbow colors. And just seeing the contrast and realizing that was 5 years apart was just so moving. And then, of course, the next day was Blackout Tuesday. And I was so touched and like, I mean, look, here we are, 3 white guys, right? And we're always giving our opinions about things. And I thought that for Blackout Tuesday, it was like, just be quiet a moment.
Not amplify your own voice. It's a time to sit back and to listen and to soak in and try and understand and to listen to what our our Black brothers and sisters are saying.
Yes.
Also, but you know, with that, and you know, being on social media on Blackout Tuesday, and just and talk, because you know, so many people hit me up on social media, my DMs, tweets, asking how to be a better ally, right? What can I do? And one of the things that I told them is don't be performative. Things start with intention, right? Your intention has to be in the right place to want to be a better ally. And I think that when, you know, I don't mind having the responsibility of talking about my Blackness to other people or having respectful, calm conversations, because I think I'm a talker. One, I think it heals me to be able to educate others. And so when the blackout, I was like, good. See why this is important, because a lot of people are just doing it for it to be trendy because it was the thing to do on social media. They didn't get what you just said, James, to amplify Black voices. They didn't get that it was creating space for avenues of everything you just read that's available on worldofwonder.net, all the resources, all the pertinent and valuable information to be a better ally, to be engaged, to be informed. They didn't realize that was what that was for. You know, and so I was kind of, and then also with the mixing of, you know, Blackout Tuesday followed by the Black Lives Matter hashtag, how that was not serving each other because it was canceling each other out. There was a lot going on with Blackout Tuesday that was kind of like, but it touched me as well, being a person of color, because never in my life, yes, you three white men have always been good to me. But there has been, never in my life have I seen so much support from my white counterparts until now. And it just was, and I was touched as well. And also not touched as in the victim sense of oh, well, I'm Black, I'm oppressed, because I'm also gay, and LGBTQ plus community we have our own struggles as well. So it's two layered, but I was touched in the fact that here are these people that were seeing me and seeing my value. So I think that's what we want, being LGBTQ plus and being marginalized. We want people to treat us without violence, but also to see our worth and see our value. So I feel you, Fenton, on it really hitting in the core.
I really hope this is a moment of profound transformation. God knows we really need it, and you know, especially with Trump and the election coming, I just hope that there's a fundamental shift, that all that has happened isn't in vain or gets forgotten about. And I know it is a work in progress, right? But I just hope, you know, something better comes out of this.
Well, I think I'm sorry. Go ahead, James. Go ahead, Fenton.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it will. I think, like you said, this is a work in progress, but never in my life. I mean, I was alive for Rodney King, 92. And then even other instances that weren't as egregious or weren't as bad as what's going on now, but never in my life have I seen something really hit the fever pitch that it's hit and spill over the way this has. And it's been the perfect storm, if you will. We've had coronavirus. We've had so many things. I feel like the universe is cleansing us of, right? We were forced into our homes. We were stripped away from our everyday lives, and we had to find a way to get back to basics. Okay, so that was the first part of 2020. Now we're here, and this is another cleansing. And this cleansing is deep, it's visceral, it's emotional, it's personal, and people are being called out. People are being seen for who they are and what they're not doing, and the covert evil that they've tried to hide is now on display for the world. So I think it's gonna be, there's lasting effects to this, and it's gonna be a conversation way longer than August, than November, than January of next year.
The world has changed
here.
Yeah.
Right. We'll take a break. And when we come back, the number one thing this week that made us go wow. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton, James, and Tom, and we're here with our special guest, Jason Carter.
Yay, oh my God.
It's been an incredible week, and a very strange week, a very powerful, moving, sobering week. And funny enough, we're all in isolation in our places, but actually I'm in the office. And it's been amazing because I would say 3 times today there's been protesters marching up and down Hollywood Boulevard peacefully, chanting, helicopters, police, but it's been peaceful. And it's really, I just think, so powerful to know that, you know, more than a week after George Floyd's murder, people are out on the streets and protesting peacefully. Yes, there's been some rioting and looting and so forth, but I would say the message that people want to get out there is one of change must happen, and that we are all one people, and that Black Lives Matter. And that is like, I think that has somewhat been a little overshadowed and lost with the violence. And earlier this week,
Number 1.
we posted Jasper Rishen's video footage of, he was down in Santa Monica and he videotaped some of the protests that turned violent when the police attacked the peaceful protesters. And so we got Jasper with us, I think. Are you there, Jasper? Hey, Jasper.
Hi, Jasper. Can you hear me?
Wow.
Sorry, I'm walking around downtown, so I'm on the way to City Hall.
And how's it going? What's it like?
Should I take this off? There's no one really around me yet.
Okay.
I'm about 2 blocks away, but it looks like I was here yesterday. It looks like it's well, I can't speak to it yet because I'm not there yet, but I think it's more peaceful than what I witnessed in Santa Monica. And yesterday definitely was more peaceful too, though the presence of the National Guard is quite overwhelming and maybe unnecessarily intimidating.
So Jasper, tell us a little bit about what you shot the other day and some of the.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Yes, Santa Monica very much started out like what is happening yesterday and today, a peaceful march, which subsequently the cops blocked off the parade, or they blocked up the march route, and sort of boxes in from several areas to prevent people from marching further. Which to me that seems like mistake number 1. Why did you just let people get their anger out and march where they want to go? Yes, it was not an announced march, so to speak, but isn't that the whole point of this? There was a couple hour sort of weird standoff between the police and protesters, where protesters were non-violent. They were kneeling, they were chanting, "Don't shoot," Black Lives Matter. And every now and then there was maybe one protester trying to instigate violence. I saw one white man throwing a first water bottle at the cops. That was after the cops sort of intimidatingly drove through the crowd on their motorcycles to join another couple cops. One person threw a water bottle on the.
Oh, we're losing.
We lost him.
It's like CNN, though. I feel like we're really. This is exactly like what I'm seeing on the news at night. So good for us.
On the ground.
Well, okay. I guess we were able to check in with Jasper for a second there. The reception was a little spotty, but he's out there, and you can check out his stories on worldofwonder.net and on our Instagram page and Facebook pages.
And thank you, Jasper, for being out there and doing something.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Tireless and fearless and exhausting, and I hope it does make a difference, or starts to make a difference. God willing. God willing.
Well, that's all we got for this week. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Oh my God. I love you guys back. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a great conversation. You guys are 3 incredible men, and thank you for everything you've done for me in my life, and for being an ally to me, and for Tom and Fenton and James. You guys have always been the most authentic, genuine, and kind men in my life. So I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for allowing me to come and share the same space with you guys, digitally, virtually.
We love you, Jason. Can't wait to see you all over.
And congratulations on all your success, and we can't wait to see you everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Until then, same time, same place next week, right? Until then, everybody, well, stay home, go out and protest safely, and just make something that makes the world go,
wow.
Wow.